Hi everyone, it's Jung here for Hip Kit Club. Today I'm going to be working on my December documented album. I will be using the November 2019 Hip Kits as well as the December documented kit. I was challenged to use a cut file on my project, and so I used this Merry Christmas cut file. I cut it out 3 times each from white cardstock and red cardstock. Those are both from the cardstock kit, and also from black cardstock from my stash. My plan was to glue them all together and make it thick just like a chipboard piece would be, and so that's what I'm doing here. I knew I wanted to use this Merry Christmas cut file on my title page. I really love this scripty font. I wasn't sure exactly how I was going to use it yet. That's why I cut it using my silhouette out of the 3 different colors. I wanted to make sure that I had some option. I am not a planner, so I wasn't quite sure what my cover page would be. I wanted to have the 3 different colors so I can just kind of try it out and see what I liked best. Okay, so off camera, I went ahead and trimmed 2 pieces of cardstock, the white and the light blue from the cardstock kit. And I trimmed them to 6x8, and I decided I wanted to use one of the exclusive stencils from the December documented kit. I love stars, so I have a ton of stars in my December documented albums every year, and so when I saw this star stencil, I knew I wanted to use it. I'm just going to use some texture paste and put a very thin layer on the light blue cardstock. Okay, so at this point, I'm still not sure what I want my cover page to be. I was just kind of experimenting and trying things out to see what I would end up liking better. So I just finished adding the star stencil to the light blue cardstock. And now I'm going to add something to the white cardstock. I decided to use my sewing machine and stitched around making a wonky circle wreath. So I thought the black Merry Christmas really popped on the white cardstock. If you know my style, you know I'm pretty minimalistic and I just like graphic elements that pop, and so I really like how that pops against the white. I'm looking through the floral ephemera pack from the November hip kits, and I was thinking about doing these flowers, which on camera I really like the way it looks, but at the time it kind of looked a little bit busy, but I am loving the way that red really pops. And so I decided to try the little holly, and at first I was just gonna leave one holly by itself, but then it looked too plain, so I decided to add flowers, and then it started to look busy. So then I went to the white cardstock die cut ephemera, and those are you can use them white and plain like I like them, or you can add some mixed media to them. They're made out of almost I believe it's watercolor paper, so they can take some mixed media. And then I was thinking about these snowflakes, but the snowflakes were a little bit big, and then I saw the stars and I thought, oh, perfect. I love stars and they're the right size. So you can't really see it on camera, but I have laid some out and I was liking the way that looked best. And I decided that I wanted to stamp my year on there. So I'm going to be using this exclusive stamp set from Hip Kit Club, and that's included in the December documented kit. And then I was thinking, do I want to heat emboss it or do I want it to be black to match my Merry Christmas? So lots of options, and I'm pretty indecisive. Not a great combination. Okay, so I got 2019 set up in my Misty stamping platform, and I wanted to stamp it all together to make it easier on myself, but I decided the numbers were spread a little too far apart, so I'm going to stamp them individually to try and get them a little closer together. I'm kind of a hot mess here. I decided to switch up inks because the archival ink was giving me a more darker and solid impression. And then some of the numbers, I really liked how imperfect it looked. So like the number 1, I just stamped it once And this is textured cardstock, so a lot of times if you stamp something, the ink won't reach into the little grooves unless you stamp it multiple times. So some of the numbers, I stamped it twice. The 0 and the 1, I only stamped them once because I liked that kind of almost distressed look. And I also didn't get it lined up very perfectly. The 0 is higher than the others, but that's okay. Here I was just showing you the little distressing. And then I am going to glue on the Merry Christmas. Do you guys do a December documented album? I've been doing December daily since 2010. So this will be my 9th album, and I am not tired of it yet. I look forward to it every year. All right, so I decided that I wanted the stars to stand out from the white background just a tiny bit. So I took some of that pink Lindy's Stamp Gang magical powder and I watered it way down because they are pretty concentrated. And I watered it way down so I could just add a light wash of pink color. And then I'm going to paint several of them. And then a couple of them I wanted a little bit darker and a couple I wanted a little bit lighter, and then I will leave some of them white as well. So it's hard to tell on camera, but in person you can definitely see they pop off the background, especially because I am going to attach them with foam squares to give it a little dimension and it'll give it that shadow. Here I decided I wanted a couple of stars to be a little bit darker than the other ones, so I added just a tiny bit more of the Lindy's powder to the mixture that I had already made and added one more coat to a couple of the stars. I'm going to go ahead and add tiny little slivers of foam squares to the back of my stars, and then I'll start adhering them to the cover page. So what size of December documented album are you guys doing this year? I started my December documented albums by doing the mini album style where I would do every page on a piece of cardstock, hole punch it, and then I would put them on the 3 round little rings. And then my 4th one, I started doing the 6x8 pocket page style albums. I believe my first one was a Simple Stories album. And I've kind of been hooked ever since. I am doing another 6x8 album this year just because I love that size so much. And I also love the pocket pages, especially because I don't do Project Life. And so it's different to work in another format. The blue cardstock that I put the stencil through is dry, and I was thinking about using those little white houses from the same Hip Kit Club ephemera pack, the ones that I got the stars from. I'm using this Shine Bright journaling card from the December documented kit, and I'm showing you how I printed on my computer. In Photoshop, I make a 3x4 little square, and then I measured down how far the Shine Bright design went, and I made sure to leave that space above the journaling before I started typing. And then I will run it through my printer, and then I'll hold it up to the light to make sure that it's centered and the spacing is right on the journaling card. And then I will add adhesive to the back and stick it on there and run it through my printer again. I hope that made sense. I'm sure you guys know this trick already, but in case you didn't, I thought I would share with you. I decided to use this page protector that has the 4x6 on the bottom and 2 3x4s on top, and so I need something else to fill the other side. And these cards are from the November 2019 Hip Kits, and I decided on that periwinkle blue card, and it has stars on it, and I thought it went really well with the other side. And I didn't really mention, but I chose the houses because it went with my photo. If you notice, there was little tiny houses that I like to collect and decorate with during the holidays. So right now I decided to play around with the stamps to get my date. And I am going to heat emboss with the gold embossing powder and stamp them in black. Again, I like to give myself options to see what I would like better, and I have several ideas for the number, so I'm just gonna play around with the embossing powder and see how it goes. So I used my powder tool to make sure that I only get embossing powder where I want it, which is the stamped image. And I'm going to be using the gold embossing powder that you could get with the December Documented, the extra color kit. And this gold embossing powder is a little different than what I already have in my stash. It's a little bit chunkier, and after you heat set it, it puffs up a little more and gives a little bit more texture. So again, I'm just going to play around with this stamp and make sure I get a really good impression. You can see that I also used archival ink, and then I decided to use my Stays On ink. I've mentioned before that it's not the greatest ink to use with stamps, but as long as you clean it up right after, you should be okay. And I always like how crisp Stays On stamps my images. So the reason I stamped it so many times is, number one, I'm kind of a perfectionist, which is not great when you're trying to hurry and get projects out, but also because I wanted to stamp some and make journaling cards, and then I wanted to stamp some to die cut a tag out of, and then I thought I might fussy cut them, so I stamped them several times, again to give myself options, even though obviously I'm only going to use one of these. That way I can pick and choose the best option. Okay, so I've fussy cut a black number 1, and then I cut out a tag from the gold heat emboss number 1, and then I've cut out a journaling size card from another number 1. I'm showing you my Simple Stories template that I got in a pack years ago. You can see the rest of them to my left. And I decided to draw the middle for the top and bottom just so I can find the center of my cards. That's what I was showing you. And then I decided to take my date stamp and stamp right under the number 1. I really like the way that looks. And so I was trying to decide, do I want to use that number 1 journaling card, or do I want to stick with my original idea and use that periwinkle blue card? I wanted to use that cute little star, but it was a little bit too big with the tag that I'm going to use. So I went through the white ephemera pack again, and I picked out this kind of florally star. I also grabbed another star to see if that would work, but I decided to stick with that floral star. Okay, so I couldn't decide what I wanted to do, so I decided to move on to the other side. I'm going to work on that 6x8 blue cardstock that I ran the stencil through, and I'm going to use those 3 houses from the same white ephemera pack. And I decided I wanted to create my, horizontal horizon line with some stitching, and so I'm going to go ahead and stitch through the large middle house. I'm going to add some foam squares to the top of this house to have it pop off the background a little bit, and then I will add some foam squares to the entire house for the remaining 2, and then I will adhere them slightly above my stitch line. So I am currently filming this before December even starts because I want to make sure to get this video uploaded on time. And I might end up switching this particular day to day 2. We are thinking of taking our girls to watch Frozen 2 on Sunday, December 1st, so I'll probably change that to my day 1. Have you guys seen Frozen 2 yet? My girls have been dying to see it. The baby, she's 3, but I call her the baby. She got a Frozen 2 karaoke machine for her birthday recently, so she's been singing Into the Unknown at the top of her lungs with the microphone. So yeah, that's been fun. Anyways, yeah, so we're thinking about taking them to see it on Sunday. Have you guys seen it? What did y'all think? I'm sure we'll love the songs, and I'll have to buy the soundtrack. Anyway, so I decided to color this floral star red to kind of add a pop of color and to make it stand off of the tag. And I decided to use the Lindy's Magical Powders, the red one that we got with the November color kits. And I wanted it to kind of match the Shine Bright in the journaling card as well. So I decided to paint both sides in case it flipped over, although now that I think about it, it's going to be in the page protector, so I probably didn't need to do that. I'm going to add a piece of twine, and at first I thought about tying a bow, but I think it looks better just as a little knotted loop. And then I'm not going to attach it to the journaling card yet because, like I said, this might become day number 2 and I don't want to have to pull it up, but this is what it'll look like. I'll just remake the tag to have the number 2 on there. And this is my day 1, quote unquote, done. And there is my cover page. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to check out the December documented kits and the November 2019 hip kits. In fact, I think the December kits have been revealed as well, so go check that out. I was just showing you that I'll probably end up stapling it with my tiny attacher. I hope you enjoyed my December documented process video. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching. All kinds of links will be in the info bar below. Have a wonderful day. Happy December. Bye.